for action investigation. A 31-year-old woman who admits to having sex with a 13-year-old boy and then becoming pregnant with his child won't face any jail time under a plea deal with prosecutors.
11 Call for Action investigative reporter Matt Kroschel is joining us live tonight. Matt, 31-year-old Andrea Serrano was facing sexual assault charges but accepted this new plea deal to stay out of prison.
Adam Serrano gave birth to a baby boy. She admitted to having sex with that 13-year-old. The victim's mother, who we're not going to identify in this story, tells us she is not happy with this deal offered to a woman she says ruined her son's life.
A statutory grape victim forced to pay child support. Nick Olivas became a father at 14, a fact he wouldn't learn for 8 years. While in high school, Olivas had some bedroom fun with a 20-year-old woman. As he sees it now, she took advantage of a lonely kid going through a rough patch at home. State law says a child younger than 15 cannot consent with an adult under any circumstances, making Olivas a grape victim. Olivas didn't press charges and says he didn't realize at the time that it was even something to consider. The two went their separate ways. Olivas, now 24 and living in Phoenix, graduated from high school, went to college, and became a medical assistant. Then 2 years ago, the state served him with papers demanding child support. That's how he found out he had a then 6-year-old daughter. It was a shock, he said. I was living my life, enjoying being young. To find out you have a 6-year-old is unexplainable. It freaked me out. He said he panicked, ignored the legal documents, and never got the required paternity test. The state eventually tracked him down. Olivas said he owes about $15,000 in back child support and medical bills going back to the child's birth plus 10% interest. The state seized money from his bank account, garnishing his wages. He wants to be in his daughter's life and is willing to pay child support going forward, but he says it's not right for the state to charge him for fees incurred when he was still a child himself or for the years he didn't know the girl existed. Anything I do as an adult, I should be responsible for, but as a teenager, I don't think so. Whoa! The most well-known case for a Kansas boy who, at the age of 13, impregnated his 17-year-old babysitter. Under Kansas law, a child under the age of 15 is legally unable to consent. The Kansas Supreme Court in 1993 ruled that he was liable for child support. California issued a similar state court ruling a few years later in the case of a 15-year-old boy who slept with a 34-year-old neighbor. In that case, a woman had been convicted. In both cases, the state social services agencies that pursued the case after the mother sought public assistance. The Kansas court determined that the grape was irrelevant and that the child was not owed to the rapist, but rather to the child.
Recent news, 20-year-old woman was impregnated by a 13-year-old teenager. And get this, child support's involved. Intro. So, I guess recently, last week or so, young lady was impregnated by a 13-year-old young man.
Really?
Yes, teacher and a student situation. And it's, as we all know, lately, last year or two, it's been ramping up even more.
Wait, she was a teacher at 20?
Yeah, well, 2021. I guess she's in that cusp of turning 21, I guess, or something like that. So
I know there was this thing where we were talking about how teachers and a lot of these jobs are lowering the entry-level age to become such.
Yes.
This is dangerous.
Well, same thing. Well, a lot of professions have been doing it. I mean, just here locally, our jail, you could do a correctional officer and be 18.
Don't trust it.
That's what I'm saying. You haven't had enough life experience
To deal with people.
And then here you are telling people that are old enough to be your mom, your dad, your grandpa, what to do, where to go, how to do it.
Nah, man, nah.
But it's because there's a desperate need for help. Teaching, law enforcement, there's a desperate need. Nobody wants to do it because they're not being compensated enough. That's what the issue is.
So, this teacher and this kid.
Yes.
What's going on here?
I guess they had some whirlwind romance, if we want to call it that. I guess apparently she ended up pregnant and everything, and I guess she doesn't want anything to do with the young man, or there's some disagreement there, and basically this kid is now on for child support.
For the rest of his life.
At 13, you're paying child support.
See, that's how the system shows a lack of accountability for
what
women.
What the hell, man?
It's such a double standard because if this was reversed,
right,
he would be in jail.
It would be, seriously, torches. Everyone would be up in arms with the situation. But since it's a woman being predatory to a young man, it seems like it's a different energy. like we give to younger men. Unless it's like under 9. I notice when it's under 9, then people tend to care when it's a little boy. But no matter what age a girl is, it's always the same energy.
Well, I heard a story earlier this week about a guy. He's older now, but same situation. Got an older chick pregnant when he was non-consenting adult. And basically the court ruled that he must pay her child support for the back years. So even for the years that he wasn't legally an adult, he's paying child support on that too.
Golly. It's like at one hand, it's like, regardless of whether it was consensual or not, it's like, damn. At the same time, it's like, look, you should have known. You thought it was cool. You thought it would be a cool gig. She's older. I'm gonna look cool around my friends. This is great.
See,
I don't know what I'm doing.
Because the justice system wants to worry about who wants to marry whom, but we still have these things that slip through the cracks.
Exactly. It's just like people get incarcerated all the time for child support, back child support that they have to pay. I get it. You make kids with somebody, there should be some consequences. But at the same time, if you didn't want anything to do with the kid to begin with, and you didn't want to agree with it, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, there should be some type of, maybe we should do some kind of contract that you can't come back for or something.
It's called, check this out. It's called, if the woman is messing with an underage boy, she needs to go to jail and be labeled as an offender.
Yes.
The kid goes either to the boy's family if they want that, or into the system, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's a weird little stigma that goes on because it just shows how much the system is one-sided towards women in several aspects when it comes to family matters. Yeah, that's weird.
It's sad, man. And this isn't, and a couple weeks prior to that, 31-year-old woman gets impregnated by a 13 to 15-year-old boy. Like, it's happening like crazy. These teachers, all these people in these positions where you're supposed to be educating and supposed to be mentoring, coaching, whatever. Why? I don't get what the fascination is with these young men. I don't get it.
The weird thing, though, is the society's just like, oh, it's a phase, it's fine.
I think that lady ended up getting like 1 month probation or no jail time or nothing.
No jail time. She's a offender, and of course, she's keeping the kid.
I just think that's wild. How do you explain to your kid as you're developing? She's 31, the kid's 13, 15, whatever. How do you explain to your child as they grow up that your daddy's not involved, or maybe eventually, maybe later on, but he's 17, 18, 19, and you're 33, 34?
Right.
That's just weird to me.
But plus, I thought if you were an offender, then you couldn't have kid.
Yeah. Like I said, man, you're right. It's very one-sided towards him. And she probably hit him up for child support. Right. He'll probably get his first job, he'll feel good, graduated high school, and here comes child support.
Well, you got to understand, too. I feel like, although it could be equally as enticing to both, I feel like a lot of young men, it's easier to draw them in as an older woman.
Yes, I could see that.
Because as boys, I feel like we sexualize things much earlier than...
Of course, yeah.
So I feel like the woman involved, she should be hit with some sort of penalty. Something
severe. You're old enough to be his mama. You're sitting here being his teacher in a parent-teacher conference with his mama, and you're sitting here as...
I don't know. That's weird.
It's a weird times, man. It's happened more frequently, man. That's the wild part, man. I just don't... Is there any turning back point at this point? And I think we're just so used to it. I think no one's just like, all right, well, it's another kid, oh well. So, okay, here you go. So your son came to you, or excuse me, the teacher who's the same age as you, comes to you and said, your son got me pregnant. What would you think and feel about that?
For one, I'd have to question my parenting, because it's like, did I fail at instilling the values and teachings that I need to do in order for him to navigate through not only the school, but to navigate through these kind of societal things? Should I have to do that at his age?
I mean, he's 13 to 15, so I mean, he's still developing.
Because 13 to 15, that's what, middle school?
Yeah, pretty much getting ready to enter the high school years.
Yeah, so I guess you're beginning to have those talks.
Granted, kids these days are, when we were when their age, completely different. These kids, with the sources they have compared to us, we were in the beginning of the inception of the internet, the beginning of it. They've lived through it. They've lived through all this. So
I would say
all the information, the experiences they're having, or fast track way compared to us.
I would say the access to overly sexualized information is definitely out there. But nowadays, a lot of things are more normalized to where, a lot of things that were seen as bad before are normal, and of course access to the bad things are even just more vast, and there's even more options than there was before.
Yeah, or even look at this. Things like kinks. It's now highlighted that if you have kinks or whatever it is, it's cool to have it. If you don't, that you're seen as being kind of boring or vanilla. People highlight those aspects of things, thinking that's cool.
People don't like my kinks anyway. my kinks are accountability,
and
communication.
No.
They're like, oh, whoa,
whoa. I was talking whips and chains. I wasn't talking about that responsibility. But it's just weird how society is just kind of, it's been there. But like you're saying, it's just this openness to this, and these kids have more access to it.
Right.
And I'm sure maybe the parents are having more open conversations with them because the new parenting styles compared to what we went through growing up. You know, because our parents were boomers and stuff like that. So, because now millennials are the parents.
Let's compare this. Let's compare two situations. So you have the teachers who are sleeping with underage children, and then you have like drag queens reading story time.
I saw that. That was
to children. Like, people have issues with this,
but
this.
Well, but to the drag queen thing. Do you remember Honey Boo Boo and everything? All that whole thing that was going through at the time.
Oh yeah.
So we, and then all these dance moms and stuff. Yeah. Now look what they do to those little girls. Now how is that acceptable? But when a drag queen reads to your kids, that's the issue. That's where we draw the line. Not the fact that the way that some of these kids, these girls are, the makeup, the performance, and all that is.
You remember
weird.
that movie Cuties? Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember
that big thing exactly. So how is it we're putting energy into this, saying this is wrong, but these dance moms and that I've never seen an episode of it.
Pageant moms, I think.
Yeah, pageant moms too, and all that stuff. It's just you're introducing these girls to this attention in this world, and it's just very competitive. And like I said, I've never seen an actual show or anything. I've seen snippets of it, but it seems very, I don't know, doesn't
very
seem
peculiar.
Healthy. It is. It's a culture, and it's acceptable. The relationship with the teacher, the parents, the kid, all of this. And like I said, if you're passionate about it, kudos to you, but it just seems a little out there comparatively to the drag queen reading story time thing,
Right.
I think what it is just we're picking these weird hills to die on. It's weird. We're
right.
picking the weirdest things to select on. We're gonna highlight this aspect, but this is a deemed acceptable in society.
Right. It's not even tall hills either. You're talking about these little ant hills. People are just deciding to post up their flag like, this is where I stand. This is my stance. I'm like, okay.
And is it really your stance, or is it because the majority of people think similar to this?
Yep, herd culture and money.
Yeah.
So if there's money and sponsors behind thinking a certain way, then people are going to do that in order to support their families and support their causes, whether they believe it or not.
I agree.
To which point, there is no money being changed hands here. I say and think what I want. If there was money changing hands, you would know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I would be in a bigger warehouse.
There you go. See what I mean? So, anything else to add to that? Or
yeah.
we beat this down enough?
Let's stop being weird. Let's start holding people accountable for everything. Just mainly because that's our responsibility to do as humans.
Yeah. And with that being said, I'm Will Robertson.
My name is Malcolm Eugene. We are out, y'all.